The US-Israel war on Iran is now overshadowed by a serious strategic question. Can military force actually produce regime change in Tehran? That is the central issue, and the more this conflict unfolds, the less clear the answer appears to be. Recent internal reviews inside the US government suggest that the Trump administration may not be well positioned for such an ambitious goal. A classified intelligence assessment cited by the Washington Post reportedly concludes that even sustained bombing is unlikely to remove Iran's deeply entrenched clerical and military leadership. That is because this Iranian regime will not change by force. Internally, it is deeply entrenched, highly institutionalized, and sustained by ideological and religious foundations. That sharply contradicts the administration's public messaging, which has presented the campaign as both necessary and highly effective. At the same time, another concern is gaining traction in Washington: weapons stockpiles. During a closed-door congressional briefing earlier this week, Democratic lawmakers reportedly warned that the pace of US airstrikes could place serious strain on America's supply of advanced munitions. To understand why this debate has become so intense, we need to look at how quickly the conflict escalated. In February, the United States and Israel launched coordinated strikes on Iranian targets, even while diplomatic talks over Iran's nuclear program were still underway. The campaign reportedly included the assassination of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, along with other senior officials. And that distinction is critical. They did not kill a president or a prime minister. They killed the supreme leader. In doing so, they struck not only at the state, but at the religious core of Iran's political order. That alone pushed regional tensions to an extraordinary level. Iran responded quickly. Missiles were launched toward Israel, US installations, and several Middle Eastern countries that host American bases. Even so, US officials have continued to suggest that Tehran has quietly sought a ceasefire. But multiple independent reports dispute that claim. For years, hawkish voices in Washington have argued that Iran's nuclear program posed an imminent threat, insisting that Tehran was close to building a nuclear weapon. Iran, for its part, has consistently said its nuclear activities are civilian in nature, focused on energy and research. Since last April, Washington and Tehran had been engaged in negotiations aimed at resolving these concerns through diplomacy. But tensions rose sharply after US and Israeli forces bombed Iranian nuclear facilities last June. Talks continued for a time, but this latest wave of attacks appears to have shattered whatever diplomatic momentum was left. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump has adopted a strikingly triumphant tone. Speaking at the Shield of the Americas summit in Florida, he claimed that the operation had destroyed Iran's naval and air capabilities within days. He said, "We've knocked out 42 Navy ships," and added that Iran's communications infrastructure had been dismantled as well. In his framing, the war was not only justified, but a service to the world.
The result, and it's been amazing. We've knocked out 42 Navy ships, some of them very large, in 3 days. That was the end of the Navy. We knocked out their Air Force. We knocked out their communications, and all telecommunications is gone.
But intelligence assessments point to a much less decisive reality. A report by the National Intelligence Council, completed earlier this year, concluded that even a prolonged bombing campaign would probably fail to topple Iran's governing system. According to that analysis, Iran already has continuity mechanisms in place. Those mechanisms were activated quickly after Khamenei's assassination. Intelligence officials also assess that opposition groups are highly unlikely to suddenly take over the state. In fact, assassinating the supreme leader may have done the opposite of what Washington intended. Rather than weakening the establishment, it may have strengthened it, while also setting the stage for long-term backlash, especially against the United States. Israel has used American power, but the deeper consequences are likely to fall more heavily on Washington. Externally, the regional picture is just as revealing. The GCC states may be wary of Wilayat al-Faqih and Iranian influence, but they're not necessarily invested in regime change in Tehran. A democratic transformation in Iran could, over time, create pressures inside Gulf monarchies themselves, as their own populations may begin asking for similar political rights. Viewers, this war is not strategy. It is destruction dressed up as policy, and history will remember it not as a solution, but as a reckless crime with consequences far beyond Iran.